Welcome to Tanakh Talk. I'm your host, William Hall, broadcasting live from Kingsland, Texas. I've got my daughter here. I'm getting all emotional. Kingsland, Texas, USA, with Rabbi, the man, Stuart Federow from the Big H, Houston, Texas. Welcome back. Don't smoke crack. Don't laugh, because you know that's good advice. Rabbi Stuart Federow, how are you, my dear friend in arms?
Thank God I'm fine. But
Yes.
I got to tell you, I'm not using my earphones, so I don't hear that well.
Gotcha. That's okay. But you look good, though. You may not hear that well, but you do look good.
Oh, thank you.
All right. So here we go. Michael Arlen, welcome. Andrea, my faithful YouTube wrench holder who takes care of business for me there, who's also very knowledgeable and answers questions as well. Yasmin, good to see you there. Frank the Tank, Ahua, Golem, Arabe, so good to see everybody there. Devin Coates, man, you guys are awesome. Okay, so here we go. So my daughter is bringing forth some real live questions that, Rabbi, you and I create questions a lot because sometimes we don't know what to start off with, and there are questions that need to be addressed. But tonight, like just an hour before the show, I just simply asked Sarah, do you have any good topics for the show? And before I could even finish the sentence, she said, yes, I do. So I figured, you know what? Y'all haven't seen Sarah since she was probably like 8 or how old? Now she's fixing to turn 18. Isn't that great? Actually, so it wasn't 8. It was more like 11 then.
Oh, my God.
Yep, she'll be 18 in a week and a half. Isn't that crazy? Oh, my gosh.
That's very crazy.
Very good. So here we are. So this is it. So Sarah, say hi to everybody.
Hi.
Can you everybody there? Rabbi, can you hear her pretty good? Here, hold on 1 second. There you go.
Oh, hi.
There, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to make sure everybody can hear the questions really well. So our questions are really good. So, real quick, Rabbi, if you don't mind, indulge me and everybody else just for a moment, because I get comments from this from time to time. I won't have to say anything. You'll just understand. Do you think you'll understand, Rabbi? I think.
Go ahead.
Waiting. Finger dance. Come on, finger dance. Okay, there we go. Now I think everybody can be peaceful for the rest of the show. You do really rope it in. That was really amazing.
Hey, I got to tell you, no joke, seriously.
Yes,
I
sir.
used to be on an exhibition dance team for a dance studio, ballroom dance.
Are you serious? That is so
I'm
cool.
very serious.
Wow.
When I was very young.
Wow, you're a hidden talent.
Just to put on shows, mainly to entice people to sign up for dance lessons.
Nice.
But yeah, the good old days. And I got to tell you, Marcy and I went for dance lessons, I don't know how many years ago.
How about that?
And I learned more in one day than I ever knew. When I used to think I was really hot stuff, that one day, that first day, what we learned, I look back on what I thought I knew, minuscule.
Oh gosh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But
Well, the fact that you could do it to begin with is quite impressive, though.
I'm sorry, what?
The fact that you could do it at all is very impressive,
I
though.
love dancing.
Nice.
You know, absolutely love it. Bad back, bad knees, but if I could get that corrected,
Right.
we'd
Wow.
be back for dance lessons.
No kidding. That's awesome. All right. Well, once again, this is my sweet daughter, Sarah. She's growing up way too fast, but she has the questions presented for you for tonight. So in her, because she's never really been on the show to talk, she was nervous enough to write down some notes. We should have put them on the key card up there. We got the teleprompter. That would have been great. Yeah. Oh, no, it's too late now, so that's okay. All right, so we're going to present 2 questions, but then I'll have her restate her first question, the one that we want you to address first. Oh, you have 3. Oh, that's nice. Okay, these 2 should be, let's leave this one out for now.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we'll go with these 2 for now. So now we have another topic for next week. Okay, and just so you guys can be tempted, one of the questions was about aliens. Ooh, so we might go there next week. We'll see. But right now, so we're going to narrow it down. So Sarah, why don't you start with this one first, and then you can tell them this one, but then we're going to do this one first.
Okay.
First question she'll present will be the first one we address. The second question will be the second one we go with. Okay, so Sarah, why don't you go ahead and tell Rabbi your thoughts there.
Okay. In the Messianic era, there were a lot of people looking for the Messiah, and a lot of people claiming they are the Messiah. Why was Jesus chosen as the Messiah, not anyone else?
Okay. And when I saw your question, which is a great question, by the way, I mean, Sarah, really, it's a great question. I noticed something about your question that I need to point out to you. Okay?
Do it.
Your question was, in whose eyes are you asking about about it catching on? In other words, all the people who pretended to be a Messiah to the Jews were simply proved not to be, but not throughout history, but back then.
Right.
The Jews basically shrugged their shoulders and said, "We were wrong. Let's move on."
So how? That's the now you're right. The question now becomes this: how is it that the one about Yashke, which they call Jesus, is how did that one actually work?
Right.
Brilliant.
And
Brilliant.
and for that, you're no longer looking at the Jewish community. You're looking at the pagan, idolatrous community and why it caught on with them. Because by and large, in the early part of the Christian phenomenon, not only were the Jews, look, read the New Testament. Quite often when the disciples of Jesus came to the synagogue to preach, they got attacked. They got kicked out. The Jews would hear their story and say, "We're not going to believe that stuff. That's not what the Bible tells us." And if you read what's his name, Stephen and Paul, when they would try to win over the audience in the book of Acts, for example, they would give a little history to show their knowledge and then get it wrong. And in the history of the Christian church, the followers of Jesus who were Jewish, called the Ebionites, were rejected, were called a heresy. They were basically kicked out of the church for trying to cling to their Jewishness, their Judaism. So to the Jewish community, we know who the Messiah is supposed to be. We know what he's supposed to do when he gets here. You don't do it, you're going to get rejected, and the Jewish community is going to move right along. Okay, but the question then becomes, why did the concept of Jesus being the Messiah, why did that catch on so deeply with the Gentile community? And with the Gentile community, it's very, very simple. They heard it before. It wasn't new to them.
Right, with all the Greek mythology.
It all...
Nice.
Let's see. A dying, saving man god. Oh, well, let's see. Perseus, whose mother was human, Persephone, I believe, or what's her name? Danae, got pregnant by a god. Sound familiar?
Right.
Okay. Human woman got pregnant by a god and gave birth to a semigod, demigod, half god named Perseus, but William, how old did you say Sarah is?
She'll be 18 in
okay,
about a
fine.
week. Yep.
So we are adults here, and we act like adults. Zeus did not have sex with Danae to give birth to
it was
Perseus.
a virgin birth, right? So they knew, they expected that sort of a thing to be
exactly. He showered her with gold,
right?
Which means that she did not have sex, which means she's like a virgin.
Right.
And that's not a reference to the Madonna song.
Right.
Okay, so
like a virgin.
Let's see. Mary becomes pregnant by the Holy Spirit, Trinity. Let's see. Jupiter, Pluto, and what's his name? Poseidon. Okay? The Greeks. Okay? Zeus, Hades, and the god of the ocean. I can't think of his name. Poseidon is equivalent.
We would call
the point is, it's three. Okay? Hinduism.
Okay.
Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva. Three. The pagan world viewed their gods as multiple gods, but the number one head gods were usually threes.
Okay.
Nothing in Christianity was new to the Gentiles, to the pagan idolaters of the Mediterranean. And so, what's the advantage to becoming a follower of this Jesus as opposed to a follower of Perseus or Hercules, whose mother was Alcmene and father was Zeus? Okay, why go to Christianity if it's the same?
Right.
They just stick with what they knew. And the answer actually is very interesting, in my opinion. Okay, and some scholars will disagree. I don't see why, but they might. And that is, what is the concept of God, even in Christianity? Compassionate, law-giving, demanding, is involved in the day-to-day activity of the people, judges the people for their behavior. Well, the gods of Greece and the gods of Rome, the pagan gods, the dying, saving man gods of paganism, they were above it all. They were on Olympus. They would toy with human beings and not care what happened to them. Whereas the God in Christianity, which they got from us, and other things stolen, is a compassionate God, a caring God. That's very attractive when the only gods you've ever heard of are people who are on Olympus or wherever and don't care about the day-to-day actions of men, where human beings are like pawns. There's another thing that's important to understand. If you read the gospel, That's okay. If you read the epistles, where were they sent to? They were sent to already existing Christian communities in the Mediterranean, on the seashore. They were port cities, by and large. They were port cities. So you got people coming in, going out, all the time. A very fast way to spread your religion is talking to the people as they come in and go out. And wherever they go, they say, hey, did you hear about this new religion? Not only does it sound familiar, dying, saving man God.
Oh, yeah, they're expecting that.
They're expecting it. They've heard it before. But
right.
This one seems to be, not really, it really isn't, but seems to be tied into a religion that goes back to creation. And not only that, their God, one God, who did the creating, cares about creation and wanted us to be existing to enjoy God's creation. Right. Not to abuse it, not to hurt it, but to take care of it. That's an innovative concept. And Christianity attached itself to the Jewish ideology of creation, enabling the pagans to not just believe in their pagan idolatry stories that are so similar to Christianity, but also to believe that their Christianity goes all the way back to creation because they attached theirs, right. They stapled it.
Yep, good point. So if you have questions or comments along the way where we might...
They stapled it, okay, yep. to Judaism, and our Bible allows it to go all the way back to creation.
Right.
And then the image of God in our creation, look, the even more ancient Mesopotamian creation stories is that many gods got into a fight with each other and punched a hole in the heavens by accident, which caused the flood that created their equivalent to Noah's story. That's a totally different view of God than what we have, who decided to destroy the earth because of our evil, because of human evil. That's a different story than how the pagan idolatrous world told it.
Okay.
So by attaching, Christianity developed out of paganism, which is why its stories are so familiar to the idolaters of the Mediterranean and the southeastern European part of the European continent. Okay, and it's why it's caught on.
Right.
It's very interesting, and don't believe a word I'm saying. Go look this up yourself. But Paul was called Saul of Tarsus. Tarsus is in the west of the Mediterranean. Okay, and who was the pagan patron god of the city of Tarsus? Mithra. Mithra, who was born in a cave, born in rock, like coming out of a cave, like Jesus when he's resurrected comes out of the cave, which is cut into rock.
Interesting. Wow.
Whose mother was human, whose father was God. Born in the spring, born in the winter, died in the spring. You know, the analogies. Not everyone, not 100%, but you've got many similarities between the pagan gods and goddesses and heroes of the Mediterranean cultures. But you also have it with Mithraism, which started hundreds of years before Christianity.
So what I'm seeing here is quite amazing. So what you're saying here is that the reason why, out of all these over the years and years and years in the ancient times, why this whole Messiah syndrome stuck with Jesus more than anybody else is because the story of Jesus really catered to the pagan gods.
They'd heard it before,
right? But everything else it was like very much okay. So that makes a lot of sense. So
and it's the advantages of the things they stole from Judaism,
right,
that made it even more attractive. So that's basically how I would answer that question. I think that Christianity perverted our concept of Messiah to reflect the dying, saving man gods of the pagan world, of the Greco-Roman world is what I should say, and ran with it, and then tried to inject it back into Judaism to give them a relationship with all the way back to creation, a story, a narrative all the way back to creation, which makes it even more attractive.
Right.
And then the Jewish concept of God, of compassion and caring and wanting us to be righteous, and it was important to the one true God how we behaved, as opposed to all the contrasts of what I just said with pagan gods, would be very attractive to them.
Right. Right.
But there's another element I think that's important to understand. You know, if you stop and think about it, as society matures and becomes more and more sophisticated, polytheism really doesn't do too well. You know, if you got two gods, what if one god says stand up and the other god says sit down? How do you choose between gods?
You know, you brought out a point, speaking of that.
One more thing, William.
Certainly.
Okay. And that is this. You know, if one God says, go to war and I'll let you win, and another God says to the opposing country, go to war and I'll let you win, does that mean that one God is weaker than another God?
Right. They should be on the same team.
Polytheism can create more problems than it's worth. And as I always say, you better choose your theology very carefully, because you will paint yourself into a corner you will never get out of.
Right.
So if I believe my God says do this and I lose, then my God isn't powerful. That's not going to sit well. But if I have only one God, and so I personally believe the natural flow of the pagan world was ready for a one God, even though they blew it with the Trinity.
Right.
I'm sorry, Wyland, go ahead.
No, that's actually fine. You actually landed on the right stone for me to continue on to the next step, the Trinity, right? So Christianity, the entire world of Christianity believes that, well, at least a portion of them believe in what they would call the Trinity. Some of them are not Trinitarians, but they get the concept. But what you point out is that especially the Trinitarians don't just believe in a Trinity. They believe in 4 gods, not 3. The fourth one being Satan, the god of this world. So you can't say you believe in Satan as being the god of this world without calling him a god, which makes you not a Trinitarian, which makes you believing in 4 gods, not 3. That was something you had brought up before.
I'm sorry, but you're going to have to say that last part again.
Are you reading the chat? Stop reading the chat.
Me?
Yes.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You're the one who brought up the idea that believing in Satan as the god of this world doesn't make you a Trinitarian. It makes you believing in 4 gods, not 3.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Right. Okay, Frank the Tank is.
I was
didn't
fixing to
catch
go there.
those.
Frank Kohler, love you, brother. Glad to see you out there. All right.
He didn't catch which religion I said believed in God's got to fight, punched a hole in the sky, and flooded the earth. Their explanation for that is the Mesopotamian. It's the Enuma Elish. It's the Gilgamesh story.
Wow. Nice.
Okay, which is older. I'm not saying that's a European religion, but it still was the stories that floated out there they didn't really have creation stories, and if they did, it was capriciousness, and their concept of gods would be reflected in that.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump in here and insert a comment by I think maybe a new viewer, Dean. I hope I said your name correctly. I don't ever like approaching those unless I can give you the right credit. So great point. It says, as a Muslim, I believe Jesus. Now, the reason why I'm calling this particular question out because, in my view, first I'll read your statement, then I'll tell you my view, and I'm going to pass it to Rabbi, just to be fair. So, as a Muslim, I believe Jesus had a miracle birth, meaning not born of a man, but only of a woman by miraculous seed. But I don't believe that makes him a God. If Jesus was the Son of God because he was born from one parent, then why isn't Adam the son of God? That is, first of all, freaking brilliant, for one thing. But the second thing is the idea of believing in Jesus as a God, in my opinion, has always been the only way you could even put him as being a deity is if there was a miracle involved that defied nature. Nature meaning, people say the miracle of childbirth is not a miracle. It's science. God made it that way. It's not a miracle. It happens every day. Happens millions of times, right? So it's not a miracle. So, but the idea of being born without a male, in the story, now that could be a miracle. So for Jesus to be a God, to me, would require something miraculous. Not something scientific, but something miraculous. But not to detract from your statement, because your question is actually even more brilliant than I thought it was after I finished reading it. As a Muslim, I believe that Jesus had a miracle birth, but I don't believe that it makes him a God. If Jesus was a son of God because he was born of one parent, then why, key question, why wasn't Adam the son of God? Now, there's the idea that he was the son of God, but Rabbi, I want to pass this on to you and let you tell us about this.
Well, but it's figurative son.
Okay.
Okay, it's not that God made what? What was pregnant that gave birth to Adam? There's nothing that gave birth, so it's not that God made something pregnant with Adam. It's that God literally created Adam out of the dust of the earth. Okay, out of the Adam Adamah, the dirt. Okay, so but figuratively, aren't we all the children of God?
Right. Larry Beck mentioned
Jesus
the same thing.
Too. Jesus too. He's the son of God. So am I. So are you.
Right. So like Larry said, he said Adam is said to be the son of God in the Luke genealogy. It says Adam, son of God, like he literally is the son of God. And there is truth to that because he is really the only creator of Adam. There was no mother figure there. So, good point.
Yep.
Another good point, Matt R. I love bringing this point up as much as possible. Paul never met Jesus, yet he developed a religion about him. Okay, moving on.
Yeah, but isn't it interesting that when Paul supposedly had this great revelation on the way to Damascus, when he's given ample opportunity to talk about that specific experience he had, he kind of like forgets it, as if it never happened.
Right.
So.
Okay. All right, so let's take this transition point, and we're going to do something on part 2 of this thing, which is really there was actually 3 points, and I was going to try to join the two, but I don't think we can. Now, if you think we can, Rabbi, please tell me we can. We can do them together. Okay, so the two, which we could combine as one, if you say we can, would be like ghosts or spirits, if you want to call them that, ghosts and aliens. In this case, she wrote down spirits, so that would make sense because Christianity has this major thing about there's an evil spirit under every bush, everything. So we could stick with just the idea of.
All right, for that we need to look at something in the Bible.
Okay, first, can we do both, or we're going to just stick with one? Yeah, let's hold off on the.
It won't take that long.
Okay, so first we'll deal with the spirits, evil spirits, or ghosts, or however you want to look at that, and then we'll do the aliens as a punchline to finish that off. So let me do this right here. Go ahead and start chit chatting, and I will try to pull up some verses for you in just a moment as you go.
All right, there is how do we define the word ghost? Okay, what does it mean to be a ghost? And the usual understanding of it is that when a human being dies, their soul stays on earth and does not ascend to heaven or go to heaven or whatever, but remains in a spiritual form, hence the word spirit, stays in a spiritual form on this earth that can sometimes interact with with people who are still alive. Okay, and we have an incident of that in 1 Samuel.
Okay. Where's my mouse?
Take a look at 1 Samuel 28.
Yes. The Witch of Endor, right?
Right.
Okay.
And what does Ein Dor mean? It means fountain of generations.
Oh, I had no idea there was a meaning behind it. I thought it was just the name of a city.
So, fountain of generations, fountain of souls, fountain of...
What verse is that in?
Interesting name for where... And by the way, show me in the Bible, and it ain't there, I'll just give you a little hint, where this woman is called a witch.
Oh.
She's never called a witch.
She's a seer, right?
She's called a woman of Ein Dor.
I thought she had a title like a seer or something. No, the seer would be the prophets, not her.
Not that I know of.
Really? So it's just okay.
It's
so
always
what
woman.
Verse? What verse is it?
Seek me a woman that has a familiar spirit, that I may go to her and inquire of her. And his servant said to him, behold, there is a woman that has a familiar spirit of Ein Dor. Okay, 1 Samuel 28, beginning with verse 7. Saul, the king, has been basically ghosted, no pun intended. I'm so funny.
Well played.
By God. Saul prays, Saul wants prophecy, Saul wants to know how he's going to do with battles. Doesn't hear anything, like God turns away from him. So Saul is a little scared, and he wants to go back to the prophet Samuel, but the prophet Samuel's dead.
Okay.
So he just wants one more conversation with Samuel to find out what's going on with God. So Saul, this is 1 Samuel 28, verse 7. Then Saul said to his servant, seek me a woman that has a familiar spirit, that I may go to her and inquire of her. And his servant said to him, behold, there's a woman that has a familiar spirit in Ein Dor. And Saul disguised himself and put on other raiment, and he went and 2 men with him. And they came to the woman by night, and he said, I pray thee, divine unto me by the familiar spirit, and bring me him up, whom I shall name unto you. And the woman said to him, behold, you know that Saul, what Saul has done, how he's cut off those that have familiar spirits and the wizards out of the land. Wherefore then are you trying to lay a snare for my life to cause me to die? And Saul swore to her by God, saying, as God lives, there shall no punishment happen to you for this thing. Then said the woman, whom shall I bring up? And he said, bring up for me Samuel. And when the woman saw Samuel, she cried with a loud voice, and the woman spoke to Saul and said, why are you deceiving me? You are Saul. And the king said to her, don't be afraid, because for what did you see? And the woman said to Saul, I saw gods ascending out of the earth. Most likely that word is Elohim. It means powers, comes from the root El, Eloha, Elim.
Right. Gotcha.
Elohim means powers.
Okay.
Probably remember Jacob's ladder. At any rate, verse 14, and he said to her, what form is he of? And she said, an old man comes up, and he's covered with a mantle. And Saul could tell that it had to be Samuel, and he stooped with his face to the ground and bowed himself. And here's a very interesting line. This is 1 Samuel 28:15. And Samuel said to Saul, why are you bothering me to bring me up? And Saul answered, I am very distressed, for the Philistines make war against me, and God has departed from me and answers me no more, neither by prophets nor by dreams. Therefore I have called you, that you can make known to me What am I supposed to do? So please notice that the prophet Samuel's soul is in Sheol. Sheol, from the word Shoel, question, it means the unknown, means the afterlife, but he's still in existence. And the first thing he says to Saul is, "Why are you bothering me?"
Right.
That means he didn't say to Saul, "Oh, thank you for getting me out of that hell, that torture of eternity, even for only a couple of minutes." He says the opposite. He says, "Why are you bothering me?"
He was peacefully resting.
Peacefully resting. Who knows what he was doing?
Right.
Maybe he was eating candy bars without getting fat. Okay? We don't know what he was doing, but he didn't want to be bothered.
Right.
He did not want to come back. He did not want to be a ghost in the real world.
Right.
Okay? He didn't want to leave wherever he was. So the idea that he was in hell, or that Sheol is hell, is nonsense. And our idea that God would punish somebody for eternity, that's not our God. That's a God of cruelty. That's not our God of compassion and mercy and forgiveness.
And in case you missed that was an allusion to the New Testament Jesus, because that is the punishment if you don't bow your knee to him. So there you go.
Okay, so what do we do with this story? And here, Sarah, is the answer to your question. It really depends on your approach to spirituality. You know, the two main names that did not agree with each other on this issue, by the way, are Maimonides, Rambam, and Nachmanides, Ramban. Time of living, they overlapped, I'm pretty sure. But Nachmanides was very, very mystical. He was very Kabbalistic, very mystical mind. Maimonides, Rambam, okay, M on the end, not at all. Very intellectual, very cerebral, not very mystical at all. And he didn't like this story. He didn't like it that it's making Samuel be a ghost who comes back from the afterlife. He said, Maimonides very explicitly said that the belief in ghosts and the occult was I forgot exactly how he worded it, but it was something to the effect of the beliefs of fools, foolish ideology, foolish belief system. Very, very, what's the word? Cerebral, intellectual, not Kabbalistic, not
emotional,
mystical.
even, especially emotional.
All right. Well, Nachmanides, on the other hand, took this story exactly as written. You know, much more literally. Maimonides said Saul must have like dreamt this, or he had a vision of it. You know, remember, prophets would be communicated with by God through dreams and visions. And so instead of a real ghost appearing in real life to the real Saul, he said this was more like a vision or a dream. Okay, Nachmanides believed it, took it on face value. So really, it's going to have a lot to do with how any individual... Look, nobody's gone to the afterlife and come back and described it to us in detail. Okay? Nobody has said and proven that they saw the afterlife.
Right. And
said, here's what it looks like, here's the dimensions, here's what I experienced. You get people who have near-death experiences, but go prove it.
Right.
And, well, there are ways to recreate in the human brain the exact same experience of the bright light and the hallucinate, well, whatever you want to call them. Okay, the phenomenon of near-death experience. So, are you going to be like Maimonides? You're going to be like Nachmanides. You know, take your pick.
Right.
Personally, I'm kind of, and I've said this often on Tanakh Talk. Okay, I don't have a very Kabbalistic, mystical mind.
Right.
I don't understand it. Okay, I was not raised within it like a chassid, like a chassid would be.
Right.
Okay, so I don't have the benefit of that experience growing up. To me, I don't believe in the existence of ghosts. Okay, I don't. I know that there are people who have had stories of loved ones who have died that they've had a dream about, and sit there and talk to them like they were still alive, which is what I call a visit. Maybe there's something called extrasensory perception, an ESP, that enables some people to perceive through ESP, extrasensory perception. They can perceive something that other people cannot, and I don't have that luxury.
That makes sense. I mean, look, I've seen twice in my lifetime where someone who was within an hour from moving on to the next world, where they went into this mode where it appeared that they were literally talking to people, even though there were actual people in the room.
Absolutely.
They were literally talking. They were looking away and actually talking to people who weren't even alive. And so maybe you're right. Maybe that's the explanation. Maybe it's because they have the extrasensory thing, and not that it is an actual ghost. Maybe they're connected with something.
Like an antenna has to have the right characteristics to be able to receive certain signals. Right. This is classic radio technology.
Interesting.
Okay, the length of a antenna the length of the antenna will determine what kind of frequency it can receive.
Wow.
And maybe some people's antennas, so to speak, are more attuned.
Right.
You know, when my wife passed away, family and friends all got visited. I didn't. Right. You know.
Right.
So different ways to interpret that. I don't know, and I call those being visited, and I never got a visit.
No, I feel you.
Okay, but you know, pick a side. What do you believe? What do you feel? What do you think? And it's going to be up to the individual. And both strains, or not strains, what's the word? Both sides of the idea are found in Judaism. You've got the Nachmanides kind, you got the Maimonides kind. Maimonides said it was all foolishness. Nachmanides said it was as real as talking to somebody in the room.
Right.
You know.
Cool. Okay, well, this is a perfect time slot. It's 40 minutes in to switch gears. And so, Sarah, would you like to continue with this question, if you don't mind?
The alien?
Well, yeah, she'll read it off for you, just so everybody has a fresh ear and hearing her sweet little voice. Okay.
Yeah, Mom was wondering about it, too. It says, is it possible that aliens exist in a whole different solar system with a type of written law for them from God, or are we the only ones?
Okay, I hate to say this, but you're going to have to say that again slower.
I'll turn it up a little louder too. So okay.
Okay.
There you go. Good try.
Is it possible that aliens exist in a whole different solar system with a type of written law for them from God, or are we the only ones?
Now, keeping in mind that the question isn't about them having a written law. The main question is it possible that aliens exist? And if they did, it's almost like an inflection that you would think that if God created all forms of life, why wouldn't he create life in another solar system also? And if he did, obviously there would be a law for them too. So I'm kind of interweaving this idea.
Well, not just a law, William, but a revealed law.
Right.
Okay, there's a book called Wandering Stars. It is literally a book of Jewish science fiction. I think that there is a second volume of Wandering Stars, other short stories of Jewish science fiction. Okay, and I think I've actually told you this on Tanakh Talk before, but I don't write dialogue well, but I got a great idea for a story, my idea, where aliens come to Earth, and there are movies that show that the greatest difficulty between aliens coming to Earth, isn't sometimes they're going to be peaceful, sometimes they're going to be warlike, sometimes they're going to be hateful and mean, sometimes they're going to be loving and kind and generous. Sometimes, aliens, I can't see why they'd be different than human beings in this one respect. They're good humans, they're bad humans. Those are probably going to be good aliens. At any rate, these were good humans, good aliens. They come to Earth, and there's the next difficulty is communication. How do you talk to another entity, and you have absolutely no idea what they mean when it's
right.
gibberish. Okay, but they start learning to communicate, and there's a question that the aliens they keep asking the Earthlings, and the best they can translate it as, "Who are your godmother?" They can't understand the last word. They
Right.
don't know what the last word means.
Okay.
So they scramble. They try to. What would they be looking for? Okay, and they keep saying, "Who are your godmother?" And they struggle with it. Finally,
That's awesome.
somebody is able to translate the last word as "those who pray." I'm sorry. Those who praise.
Okay.
Okay, and they figure out that the origin of the word Jew is Yehuda. Okay, Yehudi,
Yep.
Yehudah, Judah, comes from the root which means to praise. These aliens are looking for Earth's equivalent to Jews.
Right.
And if they find Jews on a planet, they know that planet is worth saving. That planet is gonna eventually be okay. And I just thought that'd be a wonderful Jewish science fiction novel or short story to write.
You should do that. I'm telling you, there's enough
I
curiosity.
should do a lot
for
of
it,
things.
sure.
Okay, but Sarah, here's the thing. Okay,
Your mic's on.
I don't believe that Earth is the center of the solar system. I don't believe the sun goes around the Earth. And I don't believe that God in God's infinite wisdom and mercy would create only one solar system that has only one planet that can sustain intelligent life.
I thought I was alone in this, Rabbi. I really, really did. I'm thinking, you know what? If you look at the solar system, look at all the planets, stars, and everything, like the grains of sand on a beach.
Yep.
And you could only find one grain of sand that has intelligent life. That makes no sense at all with such an
Exactly.
expansive creator. That makes no sense.
Right. And but what would that mean?
Right.
And I believe for Judaism it would mean absolutely nothing.
Right.
I believe that it wouldn't change a blessed thing about our religion.
Okay.
So
Also, Rabbi, can I insert this? So Eric Edmund Roman Harris, the Earth is flat. Honestly, I don't care if it's flat or round. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't even matter. Like Rabbi said, it even probably wouldn't even matter to Judaism. The only thing that matters in Judaism and then our existence with Hashem isn't what shape the earth is. It's does he have laws and should we follow them? That's all that matters. So
thank you.
okay,
You took the words out of my mouth.
awesome.
So my point is that if aliens came to the earth, then all of a sudden thou shalt murder. If aliens came to the earth, all of a sudden thou shalt steal. Having the existence of aliens wouldn't change. Start over. What is the raison d'etre? What is the reason for the existence of the Jews as a people, a nation in covenant with God? What's the purpose of a chosen people? To tell the rest of the world that there is a God, and that God demands moral and ethical behavior from God's creation. And the Jews are supposed to be the advertising agents, so to speak, for monotheism, for God, for Judaism, for covenant, either the Noahide covenant or for the covenant with Judaism, with the Jews.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, with the people who later became known as Jews. Okay, God did not choose the Jews. God chose a family and all their descendants who later became known as Jews. So it's still a covenant with the Jews, but that's the name that eventually evolved over many years of time, thousands of years, for that people with whom God met at Sinai and gave them the commandments. But does that mean that if there are aliens, all of a sudden it's okay to murder, it's okay to steal, it's okay to covet? Okay, does that mean that there's anything different in the message we are going to give, not just now to our world, but also to the creatures of the new world, the new planet, the new, the aliens? Is it if they're not Homo sapien, if they are not human being, does that mean it'd be okay for them to kill, to murder?
Right.
Okay, I don't think it changes Judaism one bit.
No.
I don't think it affects Judaism one bit. And I think that it would simply increase our effort, widen our horizon, that we're not only supposed to tell the whole world, the whole planet, that God exists and God demands morality and ethics from all of God's creation. I think it would mean we would have to be literally universal. Judaism's truth is a universal truth. Okay? It literally is for the whole universe.
Right.
God doesn't want discord. God wants peace. Seek peace and pursue it. Okay? Let justice well up as waters and righteousness as a mighty stream. What is righteousness? 613 commandments or 7 categories of law.
Right,
Okay?
which is why the second temple was destroyed, because of
justice shall you pursue. Don't stand idle while your neighbor bleeds. Okay, that morality and ethics that God gave the Jewish people, and through whom we are supposed. And take a look at the universe. Take a look. Start over. Take a look at the world. Okay, we pretty well succeeded. There are people who will. There are always going to be human beings who hate freedom, and who want to take everybody else's freedom away and force them like a bully. Okay, to do the will of the bully. And they're probably going to be aliens who look at, good aliens, bad aliens, good humans, bad humans. I don't see that as being different. If we're lucky, we'll get, met by good aliens first, not bad aliens who want to destroy us and take our stuff. And, I think the movie E.T., the Spielberg movie E.T. was one of the first movies, certainly the only one I can remember, first one I remember, that actually portrayed aliens in a good light.
Right.
Okay, gentle, kind. He was a botanist. He was studying flowers and growth of plants.
True.
Okay.
True.
Most other alien movies, alien books, alien stories about aliens, they're all evil. They want to steal our resources. They want to take our water or our gold or whatever. Okay.
Right.
I'm sure there are bad aliens, but I'm also sure there are good aliens, because I'm sure there are bad human beings, and I'm sure there are good human beings.
Right.
But whatever we have out there, I don't think it changes Judaism one bit. And yes, I do think that somewhere in a universe it's so huge, it boggles the human brain, certainly boggles mine, to understand how huge the universe is. Did you see that picture of the Hubble telescope?
Yeah.
From the Hubble, it was aimed at an area of space that had no light, and they just kept the Hubble Space Telescope, aimed right at it, unchanging, unmoving, and they discovered a like another universe, not literally, but like that big of galaxies. And each galaxy having billions of suns, and each sun having its own, system. The universe is so huge. How could there not be intelligent life? I'm not talking bugs.
If you think about it this way, this is a really interesting example. It would to say that we're the only life form in these millions of planets and solar systems and all this other stuff would be equivalent to saying that you spotted this entire subdivision that has over 400 houses in it, but only one house has inhabitants, or something of that nature. It doesn't even make any common sense at all, like none whatsoever. It takes more faith to believe that we're alone than it does to believe in God. Period. That's my point.
Exactly. I want to talk about something Golem 1 mentions.
Okay.
Take a look at the book of Job, where God is throwing the power and the glory of God at Job. And he says, did you lay out the Pleiades? Did you put the Big Dipper in the sky? So that far back, they knew about constellations. Second thing,
That's a
isn't
really
it
good point.
interesting that in our prayer book, we talk about Adon Kol Ha'olamim.
And worlds. Wow. No
Adon,
kidding.
right.
No
plural.
kidding.
And it's not world, it's universe.
Nice.
Okay? Adon Kol Ha'olamim, master of all universes.
Yep.
Or worlds,
Right.
plural, if you want to translate it as world. But it's plural.
Wow.
The point is that, yes, like John says, it could be spiritual world, but it could also be just as equally other planetary systems, other other sun systems. It could be other galaxies. Okay? Adon Kol Ha'olamim, master of all worlds. Okay, and that's in our prayer service.
Right. Yep. Okay, so I just had another weird thought on the same thing as like I had with the whole houses in a neighborhood or whatever. Only one house out of several hundred. Imagine like from maybe a mile up, and you see all these areas. You see cars and trucks and trailers and all these vehicles, and only assume that only one of them out of all of them actually run. Only one of them has gasoline in them. It's really nonsensical. I can't even imagine that being anywhere close to being true at all. That just mathematically doesn't even work out that way. So.
No, it doesn't make sense. But Agnes Stick is right. The universe is probably teeming with civilizations, but orbital mechanics make it unlikely that any one of them will meet. Agnes, I'm sure you are all familiar with War of the Worlds, okay? And the idea that what got the aliens, who of course were portrayed as bad, but what got the aliens in the end are bacteria.
Right.
Viruses. Okay, that's what killed them. Because they don't, look, I know this is a sensitive, politically correct, whatever you want to call it, issue, but all it takes is the first person from somewhere off of the Western Hemisphere, South America, Central America, into North America, for somebody who's not from that continent to touch the land, and they are going to bring with it their viruses and bacteria from Asia or Africa or Europe or wherever they came from. It's inevitable it would have happened, and it's inevitable it would have wiped out the indigenous populations. Right. That's what happens. Okay? Columbus Day, whatever, passed. Yeah. It wasn't Columbus, but whoever it would have been, it was inevitable to have happened. And when what's-his-name wrote The War of the Worlds, okay, and what's that other movie about that? I can't think of the name of it. At any rate, it's about an alien invasion, and they bring their own viruses with them, or their own equivalent of bacteria, and it starts killing off human beings. A lot of science fiction works that way.
Right.
Okay. The point is that another thing that's going to keep us separate from other alien beings is the same thing that would have been inevitable with the Native Americans, the indigenous population. You bring in, you touch each other's civilization, you're going to bring a new strain of bacteria and viruses. And I think they stay away from us because they don't want ours. I think we should stay away from them because we don't want theirs. I think there's another reason why, if there are aliens and if they are close enough, like she said, to get close to us, Agnes said, why they still stay away is not just because of orbital mechanics, is because would you really want to get close to these human beings with their wars and petty jealousies and riots and craziness? Would you really want to be with them until they get a heck of a lot more civilized than they presently are?
You watching?
not to mention their diseases and everything. But I think just watching how we live.
Come here.
By the way, if you want to know the single best movie ever made,
Yes.
a spoof movie, okay, because they were clearly spoofing Star Trek, okay, Galaxy Quest.
Oh, I remember Galaxy Quest.
It's
Come over here by a second.
brilliant.
Dip down. Oh, I can fix that.
Every time I see
Wait, just
it,
stay right there. Hold on. Okay, so real quick, Rabbi. So Chris is in the screen. I don't know if you're watching YouTube or not, but
I am high. Hello.
I'm trying to not cut her head off. There we go. Now you can stand up. Okay, so here we go. So Chris, I didn't know Chris was watching. She's actually watching the show. So I think she found the book that somebody referred to. You already ordered it. So Wandering Stars, is that the one?
Wandering Stars.
Yep. That's probably it right there. Okay, cool. I have no idea. Is there a part 2? Is that the one book?
I think they actually came out with a second collection of short stories.
Okay, cool. So Devin says hello to the family, everybody. So this is my beautiful wife, and this is my beautiful daughter. My handsome son is still doing homeschool. Okay, Yasmin Code says there are 2 Wandering Stars. It does have a sequel. Cool. Okay, so here's the thing. So Sarah has we'll call this the final qualifier or the final clarifier, if you will. Okay, thank you, babe. Love you. Okay, so we're going to make this our last point of conversation for tonight, and I'm going to pass this on to Sarah. You're live, and they can hear you just fine. And just kind of give them your experience and what you've heard, and if you want to have some comments on it.
So like the whole part on like spirits and ghosts and stuff, like I like believed in it, but not like how like movies and people like make it sound. And I started working like at a coffee shop, and we have 2 coffee shops, one in Kingsland and the one in another area. And the one in the other area is in a building that's like over 100 years old. And my coworkers said that they have seen, like, nothing bad has happened to them. They've just seen things move. They've like felt things touching them when there was nothing there. They've said that there was one time whenever they were just, because it's pretty slow because they're still pretty new there, and they were just talking and a pen flew out of one of the cups across the room, and just like random stuff would happen, and they're saying that there's like a ghost there. And I've never been there to see it though. I've never witnessed anything. So I'm just going off of what they said. So yeah, that's why I'm not like...
So that's where she would like some further comments from your perspective, Rabbi.
I'm sorry. I don't have my earphones on, and I didn't understand what she said.
So I'll try to get a little bit more louder on this. So she works at a coffee shop local that's a new building, but they have another coffee shop in 2 towns over that's like in a building that's over 100 years old or so. And there's been the people who actually work with her, people she knows like personally from her job, that they have seen like supernatural activity happen in the building, like silly things like a pin flying out of a cup, or feeling something brushing up against them. And there's nothing there.
Mirrors are never clean. They keep washing them, and then there'll be like handprints all over, like just really random stuff. Like nothing physically bad has happened. Like that's how I'm like, I don't think I believe that ghosts will do bad things. Like, because nothing's bad happened to them. It's just like, oh, that happened.
But they're seeing things that makes them think there's definitely something out there.
Right.
So what are your thoughts?
Even if I saw something like that, I would be very skeptical of what I was actually seeing.
Yeah, same here.
You know the Jewish guy, Houdini?
Houdini, the magician?
Yeah.
I didn't know he was Jewish. That's cool.
When he died on Halloween.
Oh, goodness.
And he spent a good part of his life showing that the people who were doing these supernatural things and seances were all full of baloney. Okay? And he said, if there's an afterlife, I will come back and present myself. Never happened.
Oh,
okay.
That's
but,
a really
and
good
he
point.
and he would go to these places which was supposedly haunted, and show that, to give it a reputation, that wire things together, and they would, do things. I just, again, I don't have this mystical mind.
Right.
Even if you told me that stuff, the Bible is explicitly clear. It says these soothsayers and the magicians whatever you want to call them, they're not for you.
Right. They're there.
Okay?
It's not something I want you playing with.
Other people can have them, whatever,
Right.
but it's not for you. Jews have God. We don't need that stuff.
Right.
To have a spiritual feeling, to have, to engender feelings of connection with something outside of ourselves. Okay, we don't need that. We've got God.
Right.
Okay, and I know the counter argument that the Bible never says it doesn't work. What it says is God speaking to the Jews, it's not for you. They can have it.
That's a good point.
You've got God. You don't need that stuff. Okay? Never says it doesn't work. What it says is it's not for you. So
That's
I
the
tend
key,
to
I
stay away
think.
from it as baloney.
I think that's the key right there. There's nothing in Scripture that says it doesn't exist. There's only things in the Scripture that says don't play with it.
Exactly my point.
It's like fire does exist. Don't play with fire. It's used for
Yeah.
specific things. You
Right.
have to use it
But
for
what
the
happens
same-
is people tend to displace God with their supernatural. Okay? Why is it? Okay, why is it that if the Bible specifically talks about Samuel the prophet coming back to have a visit with Saul,
Right.
okay, indicating it can happen, why is it set up in a way that Saul is looked down upon for doing this, becoming a hypocrite after making it illegal to have this?
And the fact that he went there after he had fallen, not while he
And-
was serving Hashem.
And nothing happens in his favor as a result.
Right.
We didn't read it, but Samuel basically says, you're toast.
Right.
God has
Exactly.
abandoned you because you didn't obey God. God's done with you.
Right.
Okay, you're about to die. Okay, the point, though, that I'm making is that it can displace God.
Yeah.
I don't have to go to God because I now have what's it called?
It's called Madonna's Kabbalah, is what that's called.
It's called a spirit. Like I can go to a spirit and get the secret information that I need.
So that's kind of my point with whenever Rav Yitzhak Michaelson and I, a good friend of mine, Ira Michaelson, we started doing a Kabbalistic show on Israel News Talk Radio. But while we were actually doing the show on Tanakh Talk, we had a catchphrase is this ain't Madonna's Kabbalah, right? Kabbalah, I mean, Madonna's Kabbalah is all about, like, honestly, it's kind of like witchcraft. You're trying to bypass the Creator to attain spirituality, and that's what you're talking about.
It's called manipulating the
Right.
powers.
Right. And that's what we don't do. So this ain't Madonna's Kabbalah, right?
Right. Exactly right. So anything that would displace God, you don't have to go to the synagogue. You don't have to pray.
Yeah.
You don't have to daven. You don't have to do any of that. Just go talk to your soothsayer.
Yep.
Go talk to your spiritualist. Okay, go talk to your palm reader. You don't have to go to God. It sets up what could easily become an idolatrous situation.
Right.
Not that they're worshiping an idol, but it is of, like, or pertaining to idolatry.
Right.
It's not idolatry, it's idolatrous. Same problem.
Right.
Displaces God, takes the place of God. Real dangerous. Okay, what I was saying earlier, about aliens, I was talking about the movie Cloverfield.
Oh, yeah. You never mentioned the name, but yeah, that's what
I couldn't remember the name. I had to go look it up.
Okay.
This massive being, which they hint that comes from an alien who planted him on the Earth. There are great big parasites that drop off of the great big monster. And those parasites start basically latching themselves onto and giving some sort of illness to human beings. Okay? Same problem with aliens.
Right.
We don't want their bacteria, viruses. They don't want ours.
Right.
And I think that's H.G. Wells. Couldn't think of the name. I think that's a brilliant thing of H.G. Wells.
Nice.
When he came up with the ending of the story, War of the Worlds.
Right. Well, I have to say, I am really delighted in the topics that Sarah has brought to our show tonight. Good job.
Sarah, you're brilliant.
That was a great show. Nice to have your smiling face and also your voice to help me. And instead of me having to try to inflect your thoughts, you were able to produce those yourself. And a lot of people say hi, good to see you, even Mom on the show. It was very nice. And Sarah could be whenever I'm not around, she might be the co-host that presents these shows from time to time. You know David will not get behind a microphone. You may be the only one. So here you go. So thank you all for tuning in. It has been a great show. Rabbi, you're amazing. We love you, and we thank you for all your dedication. And it's good to see everybody out there. Larry Beck, good to see you as well. Thank you, Agnes. I just saw your comment. Devin, Tzadikim, Andrea. If I'm missing your shout out, I apologize. Edwina Garcia, I'm seeing them as they pop up now. I'm going to scroll backwards now. Golden One, let's see what else we got here. I'll do just a couple more. Alan Edwards, there we go. There's actually quite a few. Janice Hart, good to see you. There's a Matt R. Okay, so we're going to call it a night. So y'all have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you same time, same place, Hashem willing, next week. So y'all have a Shavuot Tov and a great week to everybody. Thank you all. Peace and love. Take care. Bye. Finger dance. Come on, Rabbi. Do it. Do it. Do it. There it is. All right. Later, guys. Peace.
אתם תמיד תמיד כולם ביחד, חשוב מכל חשוב והכרחי להיות ביחד. איפוק זו העוצמה, ויתור זו הגדולה, השאיפה והכמיהה. אני אתה אתם תמיד תמיד כולם ביחד, חשוב מכל חשוב והכרחי להיות ביחד.